So today I'm going to introduce you to natural yeast. Now this is a lot like sourdough or Amish friendship bread, where it's something that you grow over time, that you keep it going, that you need to feed it, and it is alive. So warning for anyone who's grossed out by bacteria and little microbes and things. These are the good ones though. These are the ones that you want. These are the ones that help you. So this in here has some natural yeasts as well as bacteria. And then it also has just filtered water and flour, fresh ground wheat flour. I've had this in my fridge for a year. Does that sound gross? But I've been using it and rotating it over that time, but keeping part of it all the time over that time, because that's how you keep it growing and that's how you keep it continuing. So the process that I do, 2 or 3 times a week, I will make waffles or crepes or pancakes with this. Today I'm going to make waffles with my cool little waffle maker. Isn't that fun? I love my waffle maker. So yeah, today I'm going to make waffles with them, and I'm just going to show you how super easy it is to use this. And while I do, I'm going to tell you why you want to use it and why I use it, really, and then you can choose if you want to use it. So the reasons why I use this, about a year ago, I was super pregnant, and I couldn't eat any bread, anything with wheat flour, white flour. I couldn't eat it. It made me so sick. And that was unusual for me. Before I was pregnant, it wasn't that way. And I went to a class that a friend of mine said, you know, learn how to make wheat more digestible. And I went, oh, yeah, that's my problem. I can't really digest wheat very well. I get a stomach ache from it, and I just really feel awful every time I eat it. And so I went to this class, and at the class, this sweet woman, Susan, had made crepes, and she made waffles, and I ate a bunch of both, and I was fine the rest of the night. I had an hour drive home, and I was expecting that drive to be just, crumpled over and in pain. And I was fine. I felt great. And so, of course, she sent me home with my starter. So this is like kefir, where you get the grains and you transfer those and you use them from somebody else. This I can give you I could give you a spoonful of this, and then you could have your own starter in a jar, in a container in your fridge. And then you can add your own water and wheat flour to it and continue it growing and using it week after week. So that's the cool part about this. It's something that you share. It's something that can be passed on even generation to generation. Some people know the genealogy of their starter, and they can tell you how they got it from the sourdough greats in San Francisco and things like that. Anyway, there's lots of different kinds of starters. Some are more sour, some are less sour. But I really love my starter that I got from Susan. So to make waffles, well, let me first show you this book. This book is the Bible on natural yeast, as far as I'm concerned. Melissa Richardson is the author, along with Caleb Warnock, and it's called The Art of Baking with Natural Yeast. The Art of Baking with Natural Yeast. It has so much helpful information on how to do this, as well as delicious recipes. And it also goes through a bit of a history on yeast. Let me give you just a super quick rundown on the history and why this is so important. So hundreds of years, centuries and centuries of, way back when, this is how our ancestors did bread. They didn't have this stuff. This stuff was created in the late 1800s. And well, this is the modern version of it, but what we know as yeast today came about in the late 1800s, when people started, when the yeast industry was begun. And basically it went away from this. It's a way to make bread rise without it taking 6 to 12 hours. So this takes 6 to 12 hours to rise bread, where with this, it takes 2 or 3 hours, maybe less, to start to finish your bread. So this is great for making homemade bread, but it's not great because of we all need it. It's not great for processing the wheat for you. And that's what the natural yeast does. There's the bacteria, and the yeast in there that break down the phytic acid. Well, they don't break down the phytic acid, but they activate the phytase, which combats the phytic acid, which phytic acid is a lot of the problem that people have with yeast. And then it also pre-digests it for you. I know that might sound gross. Maybe you can call it autolyzing. That's another word for it. But it breaks it down. That's what the yeast and the bacteria do. They go through and they break it down. And that's what it's doing in your fridge all the time between the times that you use it. So I just added my starter to here. And this is going to be my waffles. And now I just have, let's see, I have 3 cups of starter in here. So what I'll do now, this is what you do every time you use it. You add 3 more cups of water, and then you add 3 cups of flour. And I'm not always super precise in that. I'm not the best for measuring, but you don't have to be really precise with this. You can add a lot more if you're going to need more, but if you add less, it won't grow the way it needs to grow. So there's my water, and then here comes my fresh ground flour. So I just ground some flour this morning. So I first usually stir in the water a bit to get it mixing, and then let's see, I think I will measure this time. 1, 2, 3. You want to use fresh ground flour because it does oxidize over time and you lose a lot of the nutrients. And that's it. That's the whole process every time. So I poured it into my bowl for my recipe, and then I replenished what was in the fridge with 1 to 1 to 1. So I had 3 cups of starter, so I added 3 cups of water and 3 cups of fresh ground wheat flour. And I just stir that up until it's mostly mixed in. And then I will put that back in my fridge. And that's it. So it really is easy. I think a lot of people are afraid of this because it seems so complicated, but it's just not. It's super duper easy. And so with this, you can rise bread with this. And I'll do that 2 or 3 times a month usually. I'll make bread with it. But if you're only making bread with it and you have to feed it every 3 days and you're feeding it 1 to 1 to 1, you have so much starter. And 2 loaves of bread only need half a cup of starter. So you really, really don't need that much just for bread. And it makes delicious crepes, delicious waffles, delicious pancakes. So why not use it for those things? If you are like me, and maybe if you're Mormon, because this may just be a Mormon thing, but I have thousands of pounds of wheat in my basement, of fresh ground, or not ground, just wheat berries. I have thousands of pounds of wheat berries in my basement, buckets and buckets, just for emergency preparation in case there's some kind of calamity. I want to be able to make food for my family, and so I have all this wheat in the basement. And that's what my parents did, and that's what their parents did, and so we have our wheat. Now, in the last few years, especially as more and more people have become intolerant to wheat, I started to wonder if that was the best idea. Is this wheat going to really do anything for me? And so I, especially when I was pregnant and I couldn't hardly eat wheat, I was thinking, how am I really going to feed my family on this wheat? And is it going to be nutritious enough? I mean, that's not a ton of nutrition if you're just eating wheat. But this makes it a lot more live. Now, you can sprout it as well, and sprouting it is great. But this adds a life factor to it. And I think, with fruits and vegetables, that's what's so essential from them, is that they are alive. And you get a lot of a lot more nutrients from foods that are still alive. Okay, so I've just added eggs, 2 cups starter, 4 eggs, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and now a half teaspoon of salt. Hi, baby boy. I'm sorry if that's distracting to you. I like having him so that I feel like I have an audience while I'm making my food. It's a little easier to relax and talk when I'm not just talking to my camera. Anyway, so there's the waffles, just mixing them up. So anyway, yeah, having all this wheat in my basement, I feel now like I really do have a way to feed my family nutritious food because I use this wheat now so often. I use it, you know, 3 or 4 times a week for these waffles, for... Yeah, oh, he loves them. He loves the waffles, he loves the pancakes. He's 9 months old, and I feed him these all the time, and it's just, you know, I feel really good about feeding him this because it is so fresh and because it does have all the good probiotics that we need. So there's one waffle. This may overflow. I'm not super good at making sure it never overflows. Anyway, it's easy to clean up, right? And 2 waffles. And sometimes I'll add some cinnamon to these or a little honey or things like that, but these are just like super basic, simple ones. And this is a recipe from this book that I told you about. This is the natural yeast waffles recipe. Aren't those pretty? So that's just what I'm making today. Let's see if there's anything else that you might want to know. I showed you how I do the starter. The waffles are super easy to make. And then when you make bread with it, you just add the starter and then mix your bread, starter instead of yeast basically. You mix the bread until it is fully kneaded, you know, you knead it for a long time, and then you let it sit for 6 to 12 hours. And that goes through the process of the autolyzing, where with the starter, it does that in your fridge overnight. And you can use it both ways, and it just makes it so much healthier and so much better for you, and it makes it so much more digestible. And so there are, I mean, besides just my experience where I was so sensitive to wheat when I was pregnant and I could eat it without getting sick at all, there are so many other people who've tried this, and she has a lot of different personal stories in the book who've tried this, and it helps with acid reflux, it helps with, even people with celiac disease have tried this and haven't had a reaction. And I don't guarantee that that's going to work for everybody. I don't know the, you know, true nature of that disease, but it's worth a try, I think, especially for people who miss their bread and who haven't been able to have a bread, and for anybody who has thousands of pounds of wheat in their basement. This makes that usable, and it makes it really a great investment, and it gives me the peace of mind that I know I have food for my babies if I need it. So this waffle should be done in just a minute, and I'd love to show you. Well, there you go. Look, delicious waffles. And they rise up really beautiful, like you can see. I mean, that rises up. I didn't add any baking powder, baking soda, nothing like that. It's just the yeast starter, eggs, olive oil, and salt. So there you have it. Super simple, and I hope you'll try it. And if you need a starter, I have tons. As you can tell, all you need is a 1/4 cup to get started. So come see me. And if you want to try it, I always have extra because I always make way too much. Oh, there's the waffle. Yay. All right. Yummy, yummy, yummy. So I will eat this. Oh, I should get a fork. That would be smart, right? I'm super hungry today. I'm excited to eat. So I could get that a little more golden brown, probably. But I'm too hungry to wait. And there we go. One more waffle. All right, well, that's it. There's our beautiful finished product. Thanks for watching. Yeah, you want that, huh?